This is going to be a quick rundown of credit and what it is. Now, credit is the ability to obtain goods or services before payment, and is based on the trust that payment will be made in the future. If you don't have cash, credit is a valuable resource for you. Now, credit is also your reputation as a borrower. It tells others how likely you are to repay your loans. Credit is made up from information about your borrowing history. The main relationship involved with credit is lender and borrower. A lender is a person or organization who loans money to someone to buy something. As a lender, you're going to charge this person interest, which is going to be a fee in which they have to repay for borrowing the money from you. A borrower receives the money that is loaned from the lender. As I just said, interest is the cost for the use of borrowed money. Interest is always going to be added on to any amount that is borrowed. When dealing with credit cards, which is a specific form of credit, compound interest comes into play. Compound interest is added on to the original amount that you borrowed, which is the principal amount. If you look at this example at the bottom, a person spent $180 and they have an interest rate of 10%. Each month, an additional fee is added on to the original $180. So by month 3, they're paying $240 for the original $180 item. Another fee that is associated with credit is APR, which is the annual percentage rate. The annual percentage rate is the yearly cost of borrowing money that includes interest, insurance, and the fee for borrowing the money. This slide quickly details how APR is determined and how it's added on to the original amount in which you borrowed. A credit report is going to let people know how likely you are to repay what you have borrowed. It contains all the information about previous interactions with borrowing money and what you've repaid. Your credit rating is based solely on your credit report. It's the evaluation of the likelihood of a borrower of money to be unable or able to repay a loan. It's based on all your previous credit experiences. If you've repaid all the amounts that you've borrowed, you're going to have a higher credit rating. A higher credit rating leads to lower interest rates, so you don't have to repay as much money. Another form of credit is going to be collateral. If you don't have money at the present moment in time, you can put your property, such as your house or your car, up. And it's like you're pledging that as a form of payment or a form of money. Now, if you can't repay that amount, then you forfeit that property. You lose your house or your car, which you put up for collateral. When you're dealing with credit, you're trying to be credit worthy. And credit worthiness looks at these 5 items. It looks at your payment history, the amount you owe, the length of your credit history, the types of credit that you've used, and the number of accounts that you have. Your credit worthiness is going to determine what your credit score is, as well as your credit history. So part of your credit worthiness and your credit score, the 2 biggest components is your payment history and the amounts that you owe. The other 3 items are not as big, they're minor. And so basically what people are looking at is your payment history and the amounts of money that you owe. Now, credit comes from many sources. The main sources that you need to know where credit comes from is banks, credit unions, and finance companies. And as I already said, the most common source of credit is going to be a credit card. The big thing you want to know when dealing with credit is that you want to avoid interest. If you can avoid interest by paying off the amount in which you've borrowed rather quickly, the better. The longer you have an account open, the more interest is going to accrue, and the more you're going to end up paying. This is a brief overview of what credit is. This is what we're going to talk about in class tomorrow. See you then.